This program is brought to you by Palmolive Hand Sanitizer. Keep your hand fresh and clean.
Good evening, welcome to Simpson at 8. We are coming to you this evening with a special coverage and conversation as we await the announcement of the supplementary 2020 budget announcement by the Minister for Economy Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum. Essentially a COVID-19 response budget as the country tries to come to grips with the effects of this pandemic that has devastated the global economy and is shutting down national economies. I'm joined this evening by fellow MaiTV journalist Lice Movono, who has been following COVID-19 developments this week and has also got comments from the opposition and industry stakeholders of what they would like to see in the budget. Lice, let's start with the latest updates on COVID-19. What do we know?
Well, Stanley, we know now that there are at least 5 people who are confirmed to have contracted the COVID-19 virus. At least 2 of them imported the virus and the rest are close contacts of theirs. We know that the Ministry of Health has the capacity to look after at least 100 people in 3 different locations. Nadi Hospital is a COVID-19 hospital, Navua Hospital is a second one, and Labasa Hospital has also been earmarked to look after people in the north if that happens. We know that at least around 20 people, close contacts of these patients, are also currently in isolation, aside, of course, from the people who have been traveling.
So this is all around 20, you mean 20 in Lotoka or 20 all around the country? Do we know how many in Navua?
We know that the first patient in Lotoka, 27-year-old Itoke male, 11 people were taken in as his close contacts. For the second imported case, a 28-year-old Fiji male in Nandera, up to 7 people were taken in as close contacts. And the latest one, patient number 5, as we call her, 2 people were taken in as close contacts. So approximately 20 people are currently in isolation in the Navua, Lotoka, and Nandi hospitals.
Okay, so quite a number of rumors going around. There's all talk today. There's one more. I mean, those kind of things, irresponsible. We try to stay away from that. The only person that, as we've been doing, the only person that's really going to see the confirmation is the Prime Minister.
Is the Prime Minister.
Or the Minister for Health if they delegate, or whoever he delegates to. We, of course, have sometimes get the information early, but
we're being responsible, Stanley. It's really important in these trying times to only communicate news that is fact and not rumors. And it's rife right now. And it's the Ministry of Health, as well as the Prime Minister, has said that it's causing a lot of panic, and the panic doesn't help.
So there's a lot of talk now about what may happen next, and I think the Prime Minister has said that he's expecting to announce more cases, but obviously today no announcement as we go into the budget. So we'll see what happens next. Now I'd like to come now to the budget, and we've been it's a lot of panic, a lot of fear, a lot of concern. Government is saying stay calm. We'll provide something. We'll provide something for the public. The AG is tweeted today saying it'll provide some relief for families.
So he's saying it's the kind of budget that will bolster economies, that will keep people in employment, and I think that will quell a lot of fears. And the fears are well-founded because all around the world, economies are crumbling, entire countries are shutting down. And there are some countries that have come up with budgets that do a number of things, that keep businesses running, so they're getting budget support, that keep businesses able to employ people. So there's a lot of subsidies for wages, and there are some pretty unique initiatives that look at keeping people's mortgages, people's credits in a manageable situation. And that is, I guess, some of the features that we're looking forward to in the COVID-19 budget tonight.
All right. So one person we spoke to today, this is the era of COVID-19 coverage. We can't get guests in and talk to them or go and do face-to-face interviews. We're trying to avoid that. So we're making phone calls, and one person that Lice you spoke to today was Narumbe. Let's hear what he has to say.
I would like to see 2 things in this budget. The first is a credible plan to protect lives and provide relief. The second is a financial plan to implement the measures of protecting lives and providing relief. We must ensure that this financial plan is sustainable. So in this budget, let's have a look at a very good plan, and let's see what's the financial plan it would be like. What are the concerns I have? I think basically three. My major one is that we are underestimating the seriousness and the impact of this crisis, which may lead to my second concern of inadequate preparation and inadequate responses. So that could lead to a lot of complications for us. And the third concerns I have is the lack of financial resources. I think our financial position is perhaps at the weakest point. Where will we get the financial resources that we need for that credible plan in response to this crisis? What can the government do to address the concerns that I have mentioned before? I think the first one is realism. If you can put everything aside, including politics, and let's just seriously realistically look at where we are, and that will allow us to make meaningful responses. The first, as we respond to this, will be financial resources that are needed. And how do we intend to raise those resources? The first thing that I want us government to do is look at the expenses and firstly remove wastage. Don't jump first to borrowing more money. Look at removing wastage. And secondly, redistribute income from those that are at a privileged position to those that are severely affected by this crisis. Those are the things, the responses to what I believe government should do in these circumstances. I made some submission in my article carried by the Fiji Times 2 days ago on Tuesday. I have articulated there what my concerns are and some of the measures that I believe we could take. And I hope government will listen to some of these suggestions made by others as well as myself, and try to put together the best response, the best solution to what we could do to address this very, very, very serious crisis that we face.
That was the leader of the Unity Fiji Party, former Reserve Bank Governor Savanathan Narumbe. Some key things: credible plan to protect life and provide relief, financial plans. He talked about ensuring that we're not underestimating the seriousness and impacts of this crisis, which will lead to inadequate preparation and complications. I think the complications are there, and we would really like to see how the Minister for Economy balances that.
So he brings up a very important concern that maybe our economy is not doing great to begin with, and that we've been caught out by COVID-19 at the worst possible time in our economy, is what he says.
That could be. I mean, that's not what the government has been saying.
No.
The government has been saying that we've been having economic growth.
A 10-year economic boom.
So we did see the Minister for Economy. Basically, I think the point he made about lack of financial resources,
Yes.
I think that's a key one, because
And breaking with tradition, he responded to some of our questions.
because he asked where is the money coming from. I mean,
Yes.
did you ask, or someone
I did. I did ask
you asked the
on
Attorney General on a few days ago about where would get the money from? What
on
did he
Saturday, yes, when they announced the second patient that was
Confirmed.
positive, He said that they're looking to a global, united financial response. He wrote a piece in an international newspaper talking about a very isolated response, and he's asking that international institutions, finance institutions, look at the smaller economies and realize that it's the smaller economies who will suffer, even though we're late to the game instead in terms of getting confirmed patients.
It's hard not to agree that you need the bigger economies need to even though they're suffering themselves and trying to bail out their own economies, they've got to not forget about the smaller economies. But one thing he said before we even go and borrow and ask for that money, a good point I believe Narumbe has made is about removing wastage. That might be unavoidable.
Well, he did say also that we needed to redistribute current income, that we need to take from the rich to give to the poor, I guess is a simple way of saying it. And it's an inevitable thing, and other governments around the world are doing the same thing. They're taking pay cuts. Government leaders are taking pay cuts. It's one of the things people are looking forward to tonight.
Okay. We will take a short break now to acknowledge our sponsor. We'll be right back.
This program is brought to you by Palmolive Hand Sanitizer. Keep your hand fresh and clean.
We can't wait to meet you.
I got this.
Hi guys, this is Peter. I'm going in to help Mom, okay?
Oh boy, these are some pretty big fellas. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
Whoa, that's a tight grip.
Hey.
Seriously?
Hey, is that your car?
Yes, it is.
Sweating on the inside? Handle it on the outside with Speed Stick.
Hey, come with my dad.
Huh? Speed Stick. Don't sweat it, handle it.
This program is brought to you by Palmolive Hand Sanitizer. Keep your hand fresh and clean.
Welcome back. You're watching Simpson at 8. I'm in discussions while we await the announcement by the Minister for Economy, Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, on the supplementary 2020 budget, the response to COVID-19. And that's coming up 7:30. It's coming on live as well here on MaiTV. Now, let's come back to Narumbe. He talked about his article in the newspaper recently, and in it he talked about saving from top-heavy agencies. He talked about FRA, Fiji Roads Authority, International Supporting Events, travel allowance. Talked about the vehicle leasing. Minister's salaries, he's suggesting cuts, reduce working hours of government non-essential services. So I feel we may see some of this in the budget, but we will see what the Minister for Economy.
Stanley, the Minister for Economy, Aiyaz Sayed-Khaiyum, has been unlike previous years, a bit more open about this budget. He's responded to the questions that we've been putting throughout the weeks to him about what people can look forward to. So he's talked about opening up financial resources, opening up maybe the Fijian National Provident Fund. He's talked about reducing some of the expenses. So it's likely that he's aware of the advice that has come from the stakeholders.
And he's also met with the banks. He met with the Association of Banks, and they've discussed some issue. Because this, when I've been talking around, I've talked to various stakeholders, and I've even talked to just people on the ground, and the biggest thing people worry about is the mortgage.
That's right, mortgage, rent,
paying off the personal loans,
high
paying off
purchase
the
payments.
car loans. Those things take about people say 60-70%.
In some cases, maybe 80-90 for the middle income.
Of their salary. So they are asking for relief or looking for relief. And we do not know. I mean, we will see whether he's saying.
It's been put to him. And he hasn't been, unlike in the past where he'd be, abrupt about saying no to these things. He's aware that there are a lot of people that are worrying about rent that don't know where the next pay packet will come from, and he's aware that a lot of people have already lost their jobs. So
because basic needs really need to be covered as a first priority from everything. But obviously, we have to look to a time that we have to come back, and we can't come back in a messy situation.
I guess they're in a unique position. They do have to balance people's lives, our medical health, as well as the profitability and the long-term viability of the economy. It's not a situation.
And that comes down to the discussion many have had. Why didn't we close?
Why didn't we close our borders early? I think that's one of the largest discussions on social media. People are angry about that, but the government is in a position that no one else wants to be in.
Yeah. They've got to understand there's people that if you shut them down, how do they eat?
How do people eat? And
so
the entire tourism industry.
they have other concerns that we may not be worried about.
No.
Obviously, health and safety it's something that they're trying to manage.
And it's unlike in the past where they could look to the big brothers for budget support. This
Right
is a
now.
situation that everyone is.
It'll be interesting to see what will come our way from there. Okay, so we also spoke. You also spoke to Biman Prasad. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Okay, we would like to see a very clear package designed to help both the people as well as the businesses to remain on their feet until the crisis is over. We have written to the Prime Minister, the NFP, and I believe Sodolpa party leader has also written to the Prime Minister. We wrote it in the weekend to offer our help in formulating the budget and also then agreeing in a bipartisan manner to pass the budget within a day after it is presented. Of course, we haven't had any response, and the letter was leaked to the Fiji Sun. So what we are now going to see is that we will waste 2 weeks to debate and then ultimately pass the budget, valuable time in which the response should have been delivered to the people and to the businesses in the country. My concern is that the government will not come out clearly to define its financial position and will not cut a lot of the unproductive expenditures over the years that has led to a financial situation that we are in. So hopefully there is a very, very clear indication as to where the government is going to reduce the unproductive, non-essential expenditures to help the people and the businesses.
Yeah, that's some interesting points, as usual, from Biman Prasad. As usual, the AG doesn't, and the government doesn't respond to his letters. I mean, that's the dynamics between the government and the opposition at this stage. They haven't been able to really,
be in the same room or at the same table.
It's been a struggle. Now, one thing I keep seeing that the opposition has been trying to emphasize is that they want the government to admit that things have not been good.
Or to at least be honest about the 10-year
Well,
boom.
that's it. And I don't think the government's going to be saying that. The government is in a position we've had 10, 14 years of economic growth.
Well, they've talked about ordering new equipment already in the past 2 weeks.
It's almost like they don't want the Minister for Economy to use this in their mind as an excuse. So there's still some politics going on, even though
Absolutely.
People want to say we have got to be united at this time. But I mean, some key points there. A very clear package, define the financial position that we're in, and reduce unproductive, non-essential, wasteful
government activity, government expenditure. I guess they want the government to admit how much of what it's doing has actually brought returns on their investment. They want the government to be honest about where they are and where the money will come from when they do put out tonight's budget.
Yeah, but I think for many people, the concern is here and now and the future.
For many people, it's about putting food on the table for the next few weeks, Danny.
Right.
The few weeks that Biman talked about.
And he made the point of these 2 weeks. We really can't afford it. I mean, they've got to come. They've got to come to this quickly.
So the other countries, all of the bigger economies, and even the smaller ones, announced their stimulus packages almost right away, or within a week or two. We've been learning about what New Zealand and Australia are doing for the past week while we've been doing this, and it's time that Biman is absolutely right about. People are starving now.
The time is now, and the AG will be announced. The Minister for Economy, also the Attorney General, will be announcing that shortly in the next few minutes. We'll take a short break again, acknowledge our sponsors.
This program is brought to you by Palmolive Hand Sanitizer. Keep your hand fresh and clean.
Hi, with the help of Palmolive Naturals shampoo and conditioner, with these 3 quick and easy tips, I'm going to show you that more natural, beautiful hair is achievable. Step 1, massage your scalp during washing with shampoo. Step 2, apply conditioner to the tips of your hair. Step 3, gently towel dry your hair. There you have it. For natural, beautiful hair, use Palmolive Naturals shampoo and conditioner. Have a great hair day.
This program is brought to you by Palmolive Hand Sanitizer. Keep your hand fresh and clean.
Welcome back. You're watching Simpson at 8. Lida and I discussing the lead up to the supplementary 2020 budget COVID-19 response. I mean, one of the key things really is about how we're going to do what needs to be done to make sure that we're healthy, how we fund all the new beds or ventilators or all the things required if this pandemic, hits us as bad as it hit other countries.
We're in our early days then. Right now, they're trying to contain the spread of the infection, so we haven't even come close to the dangerous days when they will be dealing with people that are very sick. Right now, the people that are confirmed to have the virus are okay. As Dr. Alicia Khan, the head of health protection, said, they would be well looked after at home if COVID-19 wasn't so contagious.
Right.
We haven't got very sick people yet.
Okay, well, we're hoping we don't reach that stage. We're hoping with the containment, if it can, stay west. I mean, I'm just thinking from my point of view, just watching it, I'm no expert, but I'm thinking, okay, look, if it can stay west, if we can contain it, but I think the government, we've been talking to some of the health people, the situation that what we've seen happen overseas. But look, for the best case scenario, if we contain it, we may not reach this stage. But right now, I think the government is thinking, as they must, of what could go worse.
What could be the worst?
What could be the worst?
They've spent money already to order new ventilators. As you know, when the virus takes over more so, people go into respiratory illnesses that they require more specialized equipment. So they've made the orders for those equipments. They've rearranged and redistributed personnel. So there's a lot of funds already going. The question now is, if it gets worse, do they have the funds for that?
How much more? How much more?
Well,
obviously, they have to have something for that, and I think that'll be special emphasis in the Minister for Economy's presentation soon. Now, another person who's actually self-isolating himself, even though he's not doing that. Even he's
he clarified to me. He said, "I'm not self-isolating. It's been imposed by his wife because he falls in the high-risk category. He's 60 plus, so he's been a week at home now."
And we're talking about a farmer, entrepreneur,
agriculturalist, and I think he might have been a journalist at some stage.
He was a journalist. He was a Fiji Times journalist at one time. Wasing. Let's hear what we spoke to him earlier. What he has to say. He's been complaining a lot. Not complaining. He's been expressing his concerns on social media. He also has been suffering water cuts and electricity cuts like the rest of us.
So he's very aware of the need for essential services to work.
Okay, let's hear what he has to say.
The main thing is that we need to ensure that everybody is going to come out of this crisis standing on their 2 feet, fiscally, emotionally, and financially, so that that our collective productive capacities are there to be able to restart our economy once this crisis is over. So to ensure that, the first thing we need to address is our basic services. There's water and electricity, so that they function through this crisis all the time and not just sometime. It's actually a matter of life and death. Our woeful state of our healthcare system is a major concern, and that needs to be addressed immediately and also for the longer term. The pandemic has woken us up to the woeful state of inadequacy. We need to ensure that we have to fix our hospitals, our ambulance services, ensure that we have adequate emergency equipment and the funds to buy the vaccines when that is ready. As for food security, government need to support and encourage our existing farmers and traders so they can go about, to ensure that they go about their job without any hindrances. It should be best left to the private sector to be able to trade freely.
So that was Wasing speaking to us from his imposed isolation. I mean, not because he's a suspected case, but it's because his wife has forced him to stay home. Now he's talking about, I like the way he talked about emotional, physical, and financial, because this is also a state of mind.
Well, that's right. And the psychologist that we usually talk to, Selina, has been talking about the need to be aware of just the mental state people go through when they're in lockdown, when they're in confinement for so long.
Cabin fever and everything, and it's
It
a big
might
struggle.
be happening. It's beginning
It's
to
a big
manifest
struggle.
itself.
We have children, and it's a big struggle
Yeah.
keeping them indoors at the moment. We've had
For a very long
episodes
time.
at this today.
And Stanley, it's
and-
showing on social media too. People's outbursts are quite extreme.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of vilification. That might be a result of being
And a point out of some people being taken
That's
in
right.
at the moment.
charged.
Where
used
some
in
people
court.
have been charged, and I think the government is not playing around now.
No.
It doesn't. It does seem like it's a time that they want people to listen, or it's a time where people really need.
They're taking their
We
cue.
still have our freedom of speech, but
That's right. Well, Stanley, they're taking their cue from the WHO. Very early days into this entire process, there was a lot of misinformation, and it led to a lot of xenophobia. So people need to take their cue from the government's
technically right,
instructions.
while of course mention basic essential services need to keep going. I mean, just not the right time, but it's happening. Water, electricity cuts. I mean, we need to be washing our hands. We need to have access. People need to have access to information.
Yeah, the instructions are simple. Wash your hands. People can't do it if, as you
There's
know,
no water.
the water gets cut
And again,
all the
it
time.
leads more to an unstable state of mind when these things happen at this time. I like the point he made that the pandemic has woken us up. I mean, we have woken up. I mean, I have never experienced something like this.
And I think no one has, Stanley. This is unprecedented. I mean, no one alive now, anyway, has an idea. The last time was in 1918 during the Spanish flu. So the entire consciousness of people, our knowledge of medical things, our knowledge of the economy, you've got to pay attention. Nothing else is important right now.
And we hope it's getting through, because there's still some laxity in places. People are still going out to play touch. People drink grog,
Social gatherings.
roaming around on the streets. Wa's main point I liked about it, farmers and traders. He's saying, enable the private sector, let them do their thing.
Let free market economies run, let demand and supply happen. And the AG talked about that earlier this week. He said that while they're aware of the financial services that are available to people who have superannuation, for example, they're also appreciative of the people selling on the roadside, the people who now don't get customers at all. What do they fall back on? So the budget should be looking at some of those other products.
All right, so we'll round off here. I mean, you need to run off now, and
do.
you'll be at lockup with Lavinia.
That's right.
Will you be able to send tweets, messages,
Yes,
Facebook
Stanley,
posts?
we're going to be on MaiTVFiji.com, our brand new website, by the way, which has a dedicated COVID-19 section, but also our social media channels on Twitter, we're MaiTVFiji, on Instagram, we're MaiTVOfficial. We're everywhere, and the team is going to be updating people as things happen.
All right, we'll round it up now. Stay tuned on MaiTV. Coming up in the next few minutes, Minister for Economy, very important moment, presenting the COVID-19 response budget. You've been watching Simpson at 8. We'll be back next Thursday at the same time. Good night.
This program was brought to you by Palmolive Hand Sanitizer. Keep your hand fresh and clean.